You thought you healed. You faced the lust. You journaled. You did the shadow work. You told yourself it was just part of being human. But still, every time desire rises, a quiet shame still follows. It's not about lust anymore. It's about the wound underneath it, and the guilt you carry for even feeling. There comes a time in the life of every sensitive person, every deeply feeling soul, when feeling too much becomes too heavy to carry. But often, this heavy feeling isn't even yours. You are someone who has walked into a room and felt sadness even though no one said a word. You've carried home the stress of strangers, like it was your own pain to carry. You're not making it up. You are not weak. You are not cursed. You are something very rare. You are an empath. But I want to tell you something important. Your gift, your deep feeling, is in danger. Real danger. When someone has a light inside their soul that shines too brightly, a light that doesn't come from showing off, but from a deep inner fire, the darkness around them doesn't just watch. It tries to take it. The unconscious, the deep part of the human mind that wants to feel whole, is always pulling in opposites. So when you carry light, you will naturally attract those who have lost their own. But this isn't just about relationships or who gets along with who. This is something spiritual, something powerful, something risky. Most empaths didn't choose this path. They became this way to survive. Maybe they grew up around a parent whose moods were unpredictable, or lived in a world that felt too loud, too wild, too painful to face directly. So the empath learned to survive by feeling everything. Their body became like a listening tool. Their soul became like a sponge. They watched closely. They felt every little change in someone else's mood. But what started as survival slowly became their identity. And what becomes identity attracts the opposite. For every empath, there is often a narcissist nearby, waiting to complete the circle. I'm not talking about people who are just selfish or vain. The narcissist I'm speaking of is more than a person. It's a symbol of someone who has pushed away their own pain, and now looks for someone else's light to feed on. Where the empath feels too much, the narcissist feels too little. Where the empath gives endlessly, the narcissist takes without shame. One swims in the ocean of others' emotions. The other builds strong walls to avoid their own. They are pulled together not by love, but by something deeper and unseen. The unconscious wants balance, and so, the unhealed empath unknowingly calls in the shadow figure, the one who consumes light. This isn't just a bad relationship, it's like a ritual, an old story being repeated. A story where light and darkness try to become one again. But be careful. This union is not holy, unless both people wake up. And most of the time, only one wakes up. That one is usually you, the empath. You might think it's your job to heal the broken, to fill others' emptiness, to love those who feel unlovable. But that belief is not love. It is a kind of possession, not by ghosts or evil forces, but by an energy too big for one person to carry. It is the wounded healer, someone whose pain becomes both their gift and their prison. The danger is not in your light. It's in believing your light is your whole identity. The narcissist feeds on this belief, not always on purpose. They don't always think of themselves as bad people. But deep down, without knowing it, they are trying to get back the parts of themselves they've lost. You become the mirror they don't want to look into. Your deep care helps them avoid their own pain. Because when they're around you, they don't feel empty, at least for a while. But like a vampire who fears the mirror, they will one day hate what you show them. And you, dear soul, will feel like you're slowly dying. Not your body, but your true self. Every time you stay silent to keep the peace, every time you hold back your truth to protect the relationship, it's like a small piece of you is being given away. You'll start dreaming of drowning, of being chased, of houses with no way out. These dreams are not random. They are your soul crying out, asking you to wake up. They are telling you that what you call love is actually you disappearing. That what you call loyalty is you repeating old pain. But don't lose hope. This pain is not punishment. It is a doorway. Walking away from this kind of relationship is not betrayal. It is freedom. And when you free yourself, you take your light back. Not as something for others to use, but as something sacred, meant for you to grow with. Your light is not here to save everyone. It is here to guide you. Empathy without clear limits leads to self-destruction. Love without wisdom becomes neediness. Trying to heal others before healing yourself turns into spiritual burnout, not real healing. The way forward is not to hide your light or to harden your heart. It is to truly know who you are, to look not only at others, but also at yourself, to meet your own shadow, to notice when your feelings are about you and when they are about someone else. Only when the empath sees their own inner narcissist, the part that wants to be needed, that fears being left so much it will take any pain just to feel safe, only then can the pattern be broken. Because just as the narcissist feeds, the unconscious empath lets themselves be fed on. This is not love. This is forgetting who you are. In this mirror you must ask, who gains when I stay silent? Who wins when I ignore my truth? What part of me believes I must suffer to be loved? These questions are keys, but you must turn them slowly. Behind the door they open is not just your freedom, it is your power. And this power is not meant to fix others. It is meant to help you see clearly and stay true to yourself. You must know this. The unconscious is not evil, but it does not care about comfort. It only wants wholeness. So when you walk through the world with your light shining, but without protection, the darkness in others will try not to welcome you, but to take from you. Their hidden pain will recognize your light, not as love, not as connection, but as something they want to use. This is the deep struggle of the empath, to be born with a gift of deep feeling, but also to carry the false belief that others can be saved by losing yourself. And this is where many empaths lose themselves. The line between helping and self-sacrifice becomes blurry. What started as a calling becomes a need, a habit, a trap. If you always feel tired after being around certain people, this is not because something is wrong with you. It's because your soul is screaming. Your body is telling the truth your mind doesn't want to hear. Empaths try to explain their way through it. Maybe I'm just too sensitive, they say. But it's not sensitivity. It's being underwater in someone else's emotions and calling it love. The most dangerous thing an empath can do is believe they're responsible for someone else's growth. The narcissist, or the devourer energy, won't change just because you give more. They only change when the mirror breaks, when your love is no longer fuel for their game, when you stop performing the relationship the way they like. They change, not because you love them harder, but because you walk away. And even then, only if they are ready. But for the empath, this truth is hard to accept, because deep down, their trauma says, if I love enough, I'll finally be safe. This is not a lesson you learned as an adult. You learned it as a child. You learned to calm angry adults, to watch for moods in the people who were supposed to care for you. You didn't become this way because it was beautiful. You became this way because it was the only way to survive. What began as a way to cope turned into a craving, to fix, to please, to keep the peace, to be the healer for wounds you didn't cause. But hear me, the child inside you is innocent. But the adult must now wake up. The narcissist doesn't just show your opposite. They show the part of you that still believes, I only matter when I'm helpful. That belief is your prison. And until you break it, you'll keep attracting people who are hungry, people who smile at your kindness, while drinking from your soul. Not because they're bad, but because you allowed it. You opened the door without asking, what am I protecting? Who's protecting me? You must learn a new kind of love. Not a love that bends until it breaks, but a love that holds shape. Love that says, it's about returning to yourself. Every empath must face this deep fear. The fear of being selfish. But that fear is not the voice of your true self. It's an old belief from your past. The belief that your needs were too much, that your feelings were too loud, that your truth would make people leave. But let me ask you, how long will you keep paying that price? How many times will you ignore your inner voice just because someone looks sad? How many nights will you spend trying to fix feelings that aren't even yours? The empath's heart is like a compass, but it only works if you let it point inward first. If you only use your sensitivity to feel others, you become a tool for their pain. But if you use it to feel yourself, it becomes a light that shows you what's real, a light that helps you see your soul clearly, a light that whispers, "This is mine, and this is not." Do you know what happens when an empath wakes up? They stop saying sorry all the time. They stop making themselves smaller. They stop explaining their boundaries to people who liked them better without any. They start shining, not as weak little lights in someone else's darkness, but as strong flames that stand tall, not begging for a place at someone else's table, but building their own altar, an altar of truth, not pain. And that's what the world is scared of. The empath who knows their own power. Because once you remember who you are, people can't control you so easily. You stop letting others use your kindness as a tool. You stop thinking that being close to someone means they're good for you. You start asking the deeper question. Does this relationship support who I'm becoming? That question cuts through lies. That question filters out who belongs in your life. And no, it doesn't mean you become cold or unkind. It means you become clear, and clarity is the truest kind of love. Let me say something hard but true. Not everyone who says they need your light is meant to have it. Some people come with sad stories and powerful charm. Some will cry on your shoulder, while quietly hurting you behind your back. Others may love you, but only the smaller version of you, the version that doesn't make them feel insecure. Your light is sacred, but it's not a free gift for anyone who asks. You don't owe your soul to every hand that reaches out. Even Jesus had wisdom. Even saints walked away sometimes. Even healers need rest. So if you feel pulled toward someone, ask, is this a deep connection or a repeat of the past? Is this my inner truth or my old pain looking for a second chance? Because not every pull is divine. Sometimes it's trauma dressed up as love. Sometimes it's your inner child saying, maybe this time I'll be picked. But you must pick yourself first. You must become the parent your own heart needed. The protector who says, I won't leave you again, not even for love. Do you see? The biggest warning for empaths is not that other people are dangerous. It's that your own deep need to be needed is the most dangerous thing of all. When you give your soul to others, believing that real love must cost you your life force, you repeat the old story of self-erase. And that story never brings freedom. It only brings emptiness. But when you finally see the pattern, when you hold it in your hands and say, now I understand, you take your power back. You begin a new chapter, a chapter where you are not a sponge for the world's pain, but a vessel for truth, where your light doesn't flicker from being too tired, but burns with purpose. And that purpose is not to save others from their darkness. It is to show that healing is real, not by taking on others' pain, but by turning it into strength. Empath, your gift is not your pain, it is your sight, your deep ability to feel what others cannot, to sense what is hidden. But with this gift comes a sacred job, to protect it, to honor it, to treat it like something holy. Let your yes be sacred, let your no be powerful, let your presence be a blessing, but never something for others to use up. You are not here to feed every hungry soul. You are not a fix. You are not a savior. You are a soul. Whole, seen. And when you finally believe that, the world will stop feeding off of you and start respecting you.